On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Jeff Lederer about the Alpha Broder and Prime merger and why it happened. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I'm your host, Kirby Hassman, and joining me today is a guest I just had, actually, but it felt right to bring him back. He's one of the topics of conversation of our industry, Jeff Lederer, president of Primeline, the Alpha Broder hard goods division. So, Jeff, thanks for coming back, man.
Thanks for having me.
For sure. So, hey, apparently there was this acquisition. Apparently there was this thing that happened in the industry. It was the huge topic of the industry. So, I guess I just wanted to start with that. How did it come to be?
Well, first of all, sorry I couldn't tell you on our last
Yeah, sure.
interview, but we had a big rollout plan, and unfortunately the timing didn't work out right, but I was excited to be able to come back on the show here.
Yeah,
so it came to be where I've been on boards with Norm Hollinger, who's the CEO of Alpha Broder, over the years. We've talked over the years about ways to strategically work together. And when Norm reached out to me and asked if we were interested in having a conversation, I figured, why not just let's start having a conversation. I wasn't interested in selling. I wasn't positioning the company to be sold. I was building the company in a way that I thought made a lot of sense to build value for our employees and customers. And that's what I was focused on. But at the same time, I would be remiss if I didn't have a conversation and explore opportunity and learn a few things along the way, and that's what happened. And it really picked up steam sometime maybe in May, in the May area time frame, when it started to make sense that there was something more than just an initial discussion.
Wow, that's awesome. What were some of the things that you had to consider when going through? Because it's a big deal, and so what are some of the things you had to consider when going through on a deal like this?
Well, the first thing was my employees. Is it right for my employees? Is it right for Prime in general? And is it right for the industry, particularly our customers? And I was able to check off the boxes in each one of those cases, because I think it is right, and it was right. And the most important thing was, how can I strategically position Prime for the future? There was a lot that was happening in the industry. There's a lot that we're all looking at and talking about with lots of different channel partners, the merging and blending of the different supply chain. And as my job is and always was to build value and build opportunity for Prime, and this is what we did here. And I think ultimately it positions Prime in a really positive way in the future, and ultimately obviously Alpha Broder as a whole organization in a positive way in the future.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I've said, and I said it to you just before we got started, I've said it to about you guys behind your back, is I was really impressed. I feel like sometimes when these kind of deals go through, it's kind of like, hey, there's an announcement, but it's like everybody's just kind of looking around and concerned and whatever. Your team really felt like they embraced it. There was a bunch of pictures on social media wearing apparel that showed the new logo. Was that like a strategy? Was that on purpose? What were your thoughts behind that?
We don't do things by accident, and it all happened on purpose for sure. So we have done at Prime a lot of acquisitions over the last 10 years. So 6 acquisitions in the last 10 years. So it's very important for me when we do an acquisition to communicate well and make sure that everyone's aligned, and that we create no wiggle room for questions. Because when you do an acquisition, it could either lead to fear or opportunity. And I'm always focused on creating opportunity and making sure people see that opportunity. And the beauty is the Alpha Broder team felt exactly the same way. And both of us together, we had both of our communications and marketing team work together behind the scenes to make sure that we hit the ground running, that it's completely seamless to customers, that our sales team knows exactly what's going on, and our employees know what's going on. And part of that was creating this logo woven together, Alpha Broder, Prime, woven together. And it really, obviously, is a play on words with fabric and apparel woven together, but two companies with two great cultures woven together. And that's my main focus also, is to make sure that as we move forward, we take that culture that we've built at Prime and a very strong culture that I've seen at Alpha Broder, merge and blend those in a way that can only bring positive results with customers and certainly employees.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a couple things come to mind. I mean, number one, I felt like it was a case study we can show our customers, right? This is how something like this looks right.
I hope so, because I've done a lot of talks on acquisitions. I've read a lot about it. I've acted internally here to make sure that everyone is really communicated with in every step of the way, because it's so important that that clarity is there and everyone sees how many opportunities there are versus ways that it's going to affect them in a negative way. And in this case, it's 1 + 1 = 3 or 4, we hope.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, a lot of times I think sometimes a lot of acquisitions aren't handled well from a PR standpoint. You guys did that from the top down, certainly. But I will tell you, I was just impressed that, the folks on the ground who were calling us seemed genuinely excited. My employees said, hey, this person seemed really excited about it. And I'm like, that's hard to do. And so I was impressed.
Thank you. That was just hearing that is validation for, one, how we did it, and two, why this makes sense for the industry, our customers, and certainly our employees, and as a bigger company. So I'm just thrilled to be part of it.
Cool. Well, this is a quick one for sure. You've done my 3 questions. I appreciate it very much, Jeff. And this is a weird, different one, but if I always give people a chance to ask me a question. Do you have any questions for me?
What was your biggest surprise when you heard about this news?
You know what? I think that from the distributor side, we're hearing different acquisitions all the time, but I think it's really the size and the scope of this one, right? And the idea, you talked about checking the boxes when it comes to, culture and that sort of thing. For me, I looked at it and was like, wow, gosh, you start checking the boxes of, okay, so they do apparel and they've got giftware and they've got, so I understand that, from my perspective, I was like, wow, it just sort of makes sense. And so that was my first impression. And, right. I'm not a person, and again, you and I don't know each other that well, but I am a person who doesn't always think that change is bad. I think some people do, right? And so I spin it forward and look and go, man, this could be really, really cool for them in the future. So that was my first impression.
Well, it's good. And the beauty is, I'm not going anywhere. I'm looking forward to making a big impact here with the entire Alpha Broder management team and my entire Prime team here. We're raring to go. The sense of excitement here is pretty great, especially going into 2018. So we're feeling really positive and excited about what the future brings.
Jeff, thanks so much. I appreciate you taking a little extra time and coming back to me.
Pleasure. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do it again sometime.
Look forward to it anytime.
Cool. Well, that wraps up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.